So good morning, guys. Thank you so much for coming back. Happy New Year. That's right. I forgot. It's only like 6 days in and I'm already forgetting it's Happy New Year. Hope everyone had a wonderful holiday and nice restful time. I wanted to welcome everyone back to Environmental Social Justice with our friends Joy Langford, our environmental consultant, Joel Vendette, our in-house realtor, but also knows way more about solar than I could ever hope to, and Peter Shankman, who is a dear friend of mine from, God, I think 20 years now. I think we're working on a good 20 years of, well, we met in New York, and I moved to New York in 2001.
That's right. That's right.
So that'd be around 19. So really you're at 19, because unless it was like by January 6th, you're still at 19.
Yeah, I thought it was longer than that, but yeah, okay, sounds good. It feels like longer than that.
I know, it seems like a freaking eternity knowing you, but we go back. But no, Peter is one of the best communication specialists I know. You've done so much in your life that I can't even begin to go into detail. I mean, 5 books, right? And they're all bestsellers. You have #1 podcast on ADHD, Faster Than Normal. You've started and sold 3 companies, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you've traveled on average 300,000 miles before COVID, 300,000 miles a year you travel just to go do keynotes and tell people how to be better people and be better at customer service.
Correct. And I miss being on a plane, the likes of which I can't even tell you.
No, I know that. You actually, you've been very good about it. I know it's been, trying for you. But talk about, you've been clear. Anyone who wants to follow Peter at Shankman.com, Peter Shankman on every avenue you can find. And you are entertaining as hell, which is why I've stuck around for 20 years. But
there you go. Do I amuse you? Right, okay.
You amuse me.
And most importantly, you forgot he just got a puppy. Like, let's just
get
right
there.
Puppy sleeping on the couch right now. So it's all good.
Yeah, puppy's asleep. But one of the things and thank you so much for coming and being our first guest for 2021. But one of the most important things I want to talk about is the lack of communication that I personally see with respect to climate change and global warming or sustainability. People aren't talking about it without scaring the bejesus out of someone. The threats. Mm-hmm. I talk to 20-year-olds and they're saying, I'm afraid that the world's going to end. We've got 10 years and then it's over. So part of ESJ is no shaming, no blaming, no eco-shaming. Every little bit helps. How would you communicate that message in a non-threatening, non-screaming way?
The problem is that think about, it is 12:02 p.m. right now on the East Coast. Think about the amount of crap that has happened since 6 p.m. last night.
Yes.
Okay. We had 2 Senate runoffs. We have a bunch of Gravy Seals protesting in Washington, D.C. right now, right? We have Gravy Seals, the Proud Boys, that whole gang of people. We have Cuomo giving a live interview right now talking about COVID numbers in New York and LA, which are skyrocketing and show no signs of stopping because people are morons. London has 1 of every 30 people has COVID, and they are in complete lockdown. We're wondering when we're going back into lockdown. I haven't left my apartment, but the attention span of a typical person in this country back in the 50s was roughly 3 minutes. You had a 3-minute attention. I'm sorry, back in the 50s, it was closer to 5 minutes. In the 80s, it became 3 minutes. And that was primarily due to MTV, right? The MTV generation. 3-minute videos, right? Fast forward to today, our attention span is roughly 2.7 seconds. It takes about 2.7 seconds before we are drawn away, shiny, to something else, right? So the problem is that the climate, and I'm going to use this word industry. I don't mean it the way it sounds, but the climate change industry, okay, has an attention span problem. They have a communications problem in the respect that they feel the only way they can communicate what's going on is, oh my God, we're all going to effing die.
Yes.
Right? And that is not necessarily the best way to do it. Because when you say, oh my God, we're all going to effing die, you're not talking about tomorrow. Okay? The one thing that the horrible movie The Day After Tomorrow got right was communications. They made everything happen within 3 days. In 3 days, climate change killed everyone, right?
Yeah.
If in 3 days climate change was going to kill everyone, I guarantee you we'd figure out a solution. The problem is that we see it we as society, it's future society's problem, right? We don't see it as something that's directly affecting us right now. What's directly affecting us right now is our 401k, is fake news, is rioting in the streets, whatever. That is a problem that we can understand because we can see it. We see a photo of an ice cap melting. We don't comprehend what that means. We see a photo of a polar bear, an anorexic polar bear. That's not here, right? That's why even when Ebola hit and it in America took out 3 Americans, we as a society didn't see it here as a big problem because it took out 5 million other countries' people. So the problem with climate change from a communication standpoint is that the story has to be better told, right? All we have that people know is either we have an 18-year-old girl talking down, and again, this is not what I believe. I believe that climate change is a huge problem, and I'm doing whatever I can to and that's a conversation for another time. But in America, you have 2 types of people who understand that something needs to be done and are working on it, and then you have the majority of people in the country who believe that they're being talked down to by an 18-year-old girl. It's not real because they can't see it, and they're also the same ones primarily who believe that if they get the COVID vaccine, it's going to have a 5G microchip, so Bill Gates can track them. So there's a multifaceted problem. One being that we're not communicating it the right way, and the second problem being that a lot of people are not smart enough to understand the way we are communicating it.
Interesting you bring up the not smart enough aspect. So most, there is like a 50-50 split of people that don't believe in climate change. They say it's not real. Usually it's the older generation. They've been told that I've been told about climate change or global warming since the 70s, that we're going to have an ice age. None of that happened. I'm not worried. It's all lies. So how do you convince somebody who has 40 years or almost 50 years of being scared, the world's going to end, but now we really, how do we say, but we really mean it this time, guys? We're not.
Well, and that's the problem, is that it's been a boy who cried wolf situation for that long. There are a couple of things to understand in that regard. The first one is that when you talk to someone about the world ending, right, it's not that, again, it's not something that's going to affect them tomorrow. It's not going to affect their 401k tomorrow, right? And obviously it can, and I know there's a financial aspect to that.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
So, no question about it. So one of the things that you have to understand is that you can't tell a story about how, look, we are human beings who live, let's say 75 years, 80 years, 90 years, 100 years in a good day, right? That's our entire life, right? We're in comparison to how long this planet's been here, how long the universe has been here, we're nothing. So when you try to explain to someone whose basic premise is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday makes up a week, that's how they measure time. When you start to say that in 50 years, cities are going to flood, that's not really measurable to a lot of people, right? 50 years is 2 years older than I've been alive. And if you had told people in 1972 or 1970 or 71 that in 50 years cities are going to start to flood, they wouldn't have gotten it either, because 50 years isn't a measurable aspect of time, right? You know how everyone always says, oh my God, I can't believe it's been X number of years since Kennedy was killed or since the Challenger blew up, whatever. The reason we can't understand that is because our brains aren't wired that way. Our brains are wired at, okay, I have this interview at 12 o'clock and then at 1 o'clock I have a meeting, right? If you tell someone the building's on fire, it's 12:30, if you're here by 1 o'clock, you're going to burn to death, they can comprehend that. The concept of the world exploding in 50 years isn't as easily understandable. And when something's not that easily understandable, if we don't communicate the right way, people tend to simply put it out of their minds because they don't want to think about it. They have much more pressing issues, i.e., where am I going for lunch? Do I need gas in my car, right? So you have to draw the conversation back in such a way that they understand the urgency of this based on their current understanding of time, right? Even when you say your children's children, well, your children's children, if your kids are 10, that's 40 years away.
Well, it's funny you brought up children's children because they're, the whole concept of seventh generation, which I initially learned seventh generation was a cleaning product. I had no idea it actually drew back to indigenous peoples that would, everything they did in their environment would affect 7 generations down the line.
Yep.
So they always thought the 7th generation. And if they comprehended it, what the hell did we miss?
When they comprehended it hundreds of years ago, or however long ago it was, we didn't live in a 2.7 second attention span time zone. And that's the other key, right? How many of you, and I'm sure they're all on silent, but how many of you have had your phones beep since we started this interview, right? We get texts, we get tweets, we get whatever. Every time those things happen, we get shut down. Every time we get a Slack notification, it takes us out of our work zone for 12 to 24 minutes, right? So if that's where we, a phenomenal book called Deep Work by a guy named Cal Norris, I think, or Cal something. Just Google Deep Work, and it's the premise that things like Slack and messaging are killing us because we're getting maybe 20 minutes of productivity a day. But back to the conversation, if we want people to understand the concept of global warming and the concept of climate change as a whole, we need to get people to understand the concept of time. And we need to get to people to understand the concept of something that is going to happen the great event, the mass extinction that's going to happen in 100 years. How does that affect them today? It affects them, let's say, higher gas prices, right? Figure out ways to tie it back to the things that are important in their lives, because a mass extinction event sounds like a real bummer, but I'll be long dead before that happens, right? And my kids will be long dead before that happens. There's that great...
Peter, I have a question though. As far as like COVID is going and the massive destruction of people's lives and needing portfolios immediately, like the wasteful masks that you just see litter in the street. How do you portray a message of urgency of what's going on with the environment? Like, for example, yesterday and the day before, I had to, long story short, raise 30,000 bottles of water for the Union Rescue Mission. So that's 30,000 bottles that are actually, not going to be, processed correctly, in our environment. But yet at the same time, we need it. We need, the homeless people actually need bottled water. And there's actually some local municipality rules regarding, bottled water. But, here we are trying to, supply an urgent need. But yet the waste from that, the mask and all of the PPE is going to be exorbitant. And how do you express the urgency to people with the climate change as well as, the urgency of things that are going on now?
Counteracting each other.
That's the problem. They are counteracting each other because when COVID hit, we are our short attention spans also kind of make us much more of a reactive society than a proactive society. And I'm sure working in climate change, you completely understand that, right? And so, oh my God, there's a pandemic. I need toilet paper. I need masks. I need whatever. We need to get as many as possible. Let's spend billions of dollars because we need them right now, today. Again, but that actually kind of goes back to my point earlier. The person across the hall from me is sick. If I don't wear a mask and she doesn't wear a mask, I'm going to get sick too. That is a now problem. What happens with that stuff and where it goes into the environment and how it kills, destroys the environment 50 years from now is a them problem, right? And I'm not saying that's the right way to look at it, but that's how people see it. But it's the way it's seen, yeah. That's how people see it. So the conversation that needs to be had is, what do they say? The best time to plant the tree was 30 years ago. The next best time is today. The conversation that needs to be had right now is, hey, let's sit down and talk about what we can do when the next pandemic hits, right? And what can we do to make sure,
Which hopefully will happen with a new administration actually paying attention.
Oh yeah, I'm predicting May. But the premise being that we have to have an answer that we have to come up with now, right? So the best response I can give you into how to get people to hear it is to start them on small changes now that will help them based on what they understand, right?
Which is what we can say. Our tagline is every little bit helps. That's what we've been saying for months.
That's not what society's been saying for the past 30 years. It's been saying, oh my God, our children are going to die. Well, I don't know them. Who the hell are they?
And children. It's kind of a long process to even be able to think about that.
And I hate being that guy who says, I don't know them, because that's not how I think. I want my 7-year-old daughter's in there right now watching something on Roblox. I don't even know what Roblox is. But all I know is that she is, I want her to have, I understand the premise of her having, a clean environment when she gets older. Right. Yes. And I'm planning on living till at least 200. So yeah, I would like to have that as well. So I get it. But the majority of people out there, they don't think past, what's the line? The if you ever listen to the theme song of The Sopranos, and actually the entire song, it's a really good song. There's a line in it. Don't you wish you could think past your next paycheck and your next little drink? And it's so true. We think in the proximity of what's going to happen over the next 20 minutes, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days max.
But I think, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to jump in for a quick second, because I think you addressed this earlier, which is, yeah, we do think in that way. We have very short attention spans, all of us. But that's also one, culturally, that's who America has become. We're basically punished if you take time off. You're told not to do it. You work, you live to work, you don't work to live. But then it comes down to, we become, unfortunately, and I think LA is becoming a prime example of this. We are such a have versus have not society that to try to plan for 5 minutes away when you're struggling to figure out how you're going to pay your rent, put food on your table, put gas in your car, you don't have time. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm just going to be perfectly blunt. You don't give a crap about the mask that's going on the street right now.
And that's the problem.
And it's hard to, but how do you get people, I guess what I'm trying to get at is that to try to get somebody to think beyond their immediate needs, that's next to impossible, especially now, because too many people are struggling just to even eat, let alone,
you're 100% right. And the problem also is that
we've done it to ourselves.
We've done it to ourselves, but the problem also is that we are very, very good at adapting to our environment, right? Oh, yeah. I look outside right now, and it's a gorgeous blue sky day, right? I'm looking at the Hudson River. I see the George Washington Bridge up there. I see Midtown. It's a beautiful day. This is the sky that I know. I don't know what this sky looked like 200 years ago and how much cleaner the air probably was, or 500 years ago, or 1,000 years ago. This is what I know, and this looks good to me, right? If all of a sudden this sky went black tomorrow, I'd be like, okay, there's a problem.
Right.
But because I don't see that right now, this looks quote unquote normal to me. So what we need to start getting people to understand is that normal doesn't mean okay. Right? We have people now, I even when I get my vaccine, I'm not planning on not wearing a mask outside for several years, right? I visit Asia. Prior to COVID, I was visiting Asia 7, 8, 9 times a year for work. And you step off the plane, you put on a mask. That's what you do. It's common courtesy. So I don't expect
common courtesy.
It's not about saving my life. It's about saving someone else's life, right? So I'm not about, I'm not thinking about not wearing a mask. That's normal to me. So what we have to start understanding is that normalcy doesn't necessarily mean good. Right? And if we can explain to people, and again, you have a lot of people that are hungry, that are looking for food, that are trying to make rent, that are living paycheck to paycheck. It's going to be a tough job to explain to them that, hey, things can actually be better than they are when people are just trying to get to baseline, right? So that brings back, and I'm hopeful, more hopeful today than I've been in quite some time, that the next several years will hopefully address some of the inadequacies and some of the disparagement that we have, and the disparity between the haves and the have-nots all around the country, if not the world. Maybe there's something we could do.
Adding on to that, though, one of the things that I've personally seen that I applaud is the financial industry is taking notice. The financial industry is now focusing on environmental social justice. They're focusing on getting rid of the petroleum, fossil fuels, mining industries, focusing on renewable energies. That is the most important thing I've seen in the past 2 years in all of this.
And that's the nice thing also about the fact that we are moving into a new administration that actually understands science, right, and is willing to understand that it not only understands science, but understands that without taking steps, there will be a financial pain, the likes of which we have never seen, right? And I think that they're smart in the fact. You can either put in all financial guys who care about nothing but money, or you could put in all climate guys who care about nothing but climate. If you have a nice mix, that's when you start to see results. And so I'm hoping.
And I've always told people, it's like, I'm an environmentalist, but I do believe in progress. We just have to do things differently, and we have to do it better. Doing it the same way over and over again is wrong.
I live in a LEED green building, right? I love my view, but I also like the fact that it's not killing the earth that much, right? It's killing the earth less than my last apartment.
Very true.
Right? And so those are the kind of comparisons we have to get people to understand, because we are not going to get, it's like resolutions. I'm not going to lose 25 pounds in January. Let's just accept that. But if I wake up every morning 30 minutes earlier and work out for 30 minutes over time, I'm good. So I don't want people to make resolutions. I want them to create rituals. And if those rituals create small little movements, those small little movements over time, every time you get to a better, have you ever earned a lot of money and then suddenly you lose your job and you don't have a lot of money? It was easier before you ever got a lot of money, right? What's that line from Wall Street? I didn't know how poor I was till I started making a little money, right? It's the same premise. If your life gets better, your water's cleaner and you can go for a swim and you're not, the beach isn't shut down, and that happens more often than not, you're going to start to appreciate that. You're going to start to want more of that. And that's the goal that we're looking for. We're not looking at changing everyone's mind tomorrow. We're looking at small little moves, communicating to them small little moves that will allow them to understand that things can get better. And as they do, they're going to want more of that.
I absolutely agree. And we have come up to our 20 minutes. So thank you so much for giving us a big homework assignment. Create rituals, communicate.
And motivating us to do the right thing. Motivating us, even in light of everything that's going on, to just try to do the right thing.
Keep every little bit helps. And on one last thing with rituals for you, Peter, could you 86 the plastic water bottle you're holding on to?
You know what? So here's the thing. I make my own club soda. I just put it into this bottle.
Oh, love you for it. Okay.
I like the plastic. This is probably my sixth one today of this in this bottle.
Okay.
So yes, I love.
Are you kidding me?
No, I don't buy these. I keep these because I've had the glass bottle that the thing that you make it in, that I've had 2 of the glass bottles explode on me.
Oh.
Right. So now I make it in the glass bottle and I immediately pour it into a plastic bottle. But yeah, it's the same plastic bottle. I've had this one for like 2 weeks now.
As long as it's getting cleaned in between, I love it.
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you guys. Thank you again. And next week we have my friend Dan Atwater, who will be talking on the financial side. So thank you both. Thank you, everyone. Peter, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I know how busy you are. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.
All right.